Did Honkai Star Rail just release the best Nihility character? Better yet, did they release the best character period? Today we're going to be talking about Wildfire's own Luca. Of course we're going to be talking about Kafka. I mean, Luca is amazing, don't get me wrong, but we'll deal with him later. I think he deserves his own video. Today we're going to be going over a member of the Stellaron Hunters who is calm, collected, and beautiful. Wonder who wrote that line. Probably a tier 3 sub, and why you should and should not pull for her. And yes, this video is a bit more in depth than my usual banner review videos, but this one is a special case. Kafka is a special woman. I mean, who can argue with a character with a fan base like this? Don't you lie to me, I know what you did. But, like I said, we're here to worry about what can be discussed in my Christian Minecraft server, like her kit for example. Kafka, believe it or not, has a basic attack, skill, and an ultimate. Moving on. Kafka's basic attack is, well, a basic attack. Pretty decent scaling, but you should really only use it if you have no skill points. Kafka's skill, for most team comps, is her most important ability. Kafka's skill does lightning damage to the target and roughly a third of that damage to adjacent targets. If the target enemy has any dots applied to them currently, said dots immediately deal roughly 3/4 damage to them. That's all well and good. Use your skill and turn your opponent's benign tumor into stage 4 super cancer. But what if the enemy doesn't have a dot placed on them? What if nobody else in your team can apply dots? I mean, if that were the case, then I don't know why you'd be using her. But anyway, Kafka's ultimate, other than having a freaking epic spider icon, which is just more proof that Kafka eats her sexual partners, does lightning damage to all enemies and has a 100% base chance to apply the shock status, with opponents immediately taking damage from said shock state. This status lasts for 2 turns, by the way. While shocked, enemies take lightning dot damage scaling off of Kafka's attack at the beginning of each turn. Now, Kafka also has a talent. Duh. Yeah, that duh was for me. I almost forgot to put it in the script. And this talent is quite powerful. After an ally uses their basic attack on an enemy, Kafka launches a follow-up attack. For you Relation fans out there, I repeat, a follow-up attack, dealing lightning damage and applying her ultimate shock status to the target for 2 turns. This effect can only occur once a turn. If we're talking about traces, they're all pretty good. Nothing crazy, but definitely worth mentioning. Thorns increases Kafka's overall chance of shocking enemies by 30%, so definitely a plus, and she can get away with running a little bit less effect hit rate. Now Plunder, other than stealing friction from the ground,
soft and wet,
gives Kafka more energy when someone she has shocked dies. All very neat. I almost neglected to mention her Eidolons. Like legit, I don't even think about them because, well, I'm mostly a free-to-play player. But first, as you can see, we have no promo gems. We're going big. Of course I topped up. That's how I got 1,000,000 power on Rise of Kingdoms. I buy the Welkin/supply pass every once in a while, but by all means, I usually never get past E0. But now that we're talking about them, they're all pretty good. Go figure. You're gonna want to shoot for E1, E2, and E6. E3 and E5 are pretty self-explanatory. E4 is pretty good if you need more energy, but it's not needed. Her E2 literally just increases the team's overall DPS by 25%. Granted, you're running other dot characters. And that E6 is nothing to scoff at either. 156% increase to the damage markiplier, and it lasts another turn? They fucking knew that people were going to be draining their bank accounts for this character. So if you haven't pulled for Kafka yet, or you already have her, you lucky bastard, then her bread and butter strategy for utter domination, which if you're into it, I'm not judging, is pop ultimate, use skill, and let that talent fly. Then boom, the enemy's dead, unless they're that fucking deer. You don't need me to tell you, but that kid is fucking nuts. To be able to dig that knife into someone and be able to twist it in the same breath is just crazy. In most games, they don't give the character the ability to, gas themselves up like that. And that's not even mentioning the fact that her ability works with any dots. In Star Rail, you can have 3 other people on your team, which we'll talk about in a second. But you wouldn't bring Kafka into battle without some precious relics, or else you'll be carrying her out on her metaphorical shield. When it comes to relics, Kafka doesn't really have anything special. You're going to want to run Band of Sizzling Thunder for the extra lightning damage, along with the attack buff upon using her skill. I'm sure there will be better sets for her in the future, but this one, it's not too shabby. But if you're too cool for all that sizzling nonsense, then you can also run Musketeer of Wild Wheat. It's legal. You can still do that. But I'd advise against it if you have the other cavern unlocked. Or you can wield both of their 2-piece buffs. Get a little Captain America shield in one hand, Mjolnir in the other. Although in this case, the shield is a wooden lid and Mjolnir is a fucking carnival hammer. Now when it comes to ornaments, oh boy, I'm not gonna lie to you, still don't have much. Depending on your substats, Celestial Differentiator isn't a bad pickup, as who's gonna say no to some more crits? But you can hopefully understand why it's not the best option. And if you don't understand, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you. You don't have to include that part, editor. Kafka's main damage source comes from her dot, and her dot is based off of her attack. So if you really want to go balls deep into that category, and I mean, who doesn't want to go balls deep into Kafka? Am I right? Your best in slot, in my opinion, is Space Sealing Station, as you get a whopping 24% more attack if you're fast enough. But how exactly do you get fast enough? Well, now we get to talk about substats. Let's talk priorities. For most of your pieces, the priority list goes as follows: lightning damage, attack percent, effect hit rate, and then crit rate / crit damage. Now what about main stats? If you're not fast enough for the ornament buff, then you're probably going to want to lace up those Air Force Ones with speed as your main stat. If you're already the fastest on the court, then you can get away with attack percent. You're obviously going to want to run lightning damage on your neck. Now for your body piece, article? I've heard some people say article, I don't really know which. You're going to want to slap some effect hit rate on her for good measure. Now me, I can't do that. I don't slap women. My mommy taught me well. Remember, her chances of applying shock are based chances, which, unlike cringe chances, aren't guaranteed 100%. So the enemy can resist it if you play your cards wrong. Now the keen among you might have noticed that I've yet to talk about light cones. I mean, we're here now. It's destiny, right? When it comes to light cones, you have a couple choices. Now what I like about Star Rail is that there is no substat for light cones like there is in Genshin, so your choices are a lot more streamlined. Obviously Kafka's best light cone is the one with her fucking face plastered on it, which there are actually two, but whatever. The ability for a light cone to just apply its own shock dot like that is pretty self-explanatory for why it's good for miss shock turn 1, dead turn 2. Now when it comes to 4-star light cones, pretty much all of them are good picks. Even Luca's, even though it's obviously better on him. Though if I had a preference, I'd say look out for Eyes of the Prey, Good Night and Sleep Well, and for Mata. You know, the other light cone with their face on it. If you haven't noticed already, or if you have 30 copies of every fucking light cone, then you can see that we've ran into a little problem. You're most likely running Kafka on a team with other Nihility characters, so you're probably going to want to use some light cones you could use on Kafka on other characters. That brings us into our next section. Now what team comps should you run with Kafka? Let's first consider that you're following regular team comp structure, that being support, damage, healer, and tank, with the support / sub DPS role in these cases almost always being Kafka. Now you don't actually have to run a tank all the time, so for a few of these I might omit that category. Fuck it, we ball. For people really on a budget, I'd highly recommend you run Kafka, Sampo, Natasha, and March 7th. Fire Trailblazer works too. Sampo will most likely be your go-to for easy dot application, although if the enemy is weak to physical or you just need some more dedicated single target damage, then he can be swapped out for Luca. Or if you want to be funny, you can run the best character in the game, Pitch Dark Hook the Great. You know, the captain of the moles. She technically applies burn, which is a dot. For more affluent players, you can have a bit more leeway, and I'm not talking about the region in Genshin. Now, for most players, a team consisting of Kafka, Sampo, Luca, and Luocha would be just fine. But let's be honest, you can run almost the entirety of Honkai's character list with Kafka and you'll be just fine. She can fly solo or she can work well with a group. Though, here are some of my favorites. Big focus on comps that have Silverwolf in them as well, since she can help apply weakness breaks, which therefore means more dots, which then means game over for your opponent. See what I did there? Silverwolf, game over. She's a gamer. I'll take Funniest Video of the Year award now. I think Racist Mario has reigned for too long. I still can't believe that's a real fucking video. It's so bad. Hey, I'm allowed one off-topic rant a video. It's in my fucking contract. Anyway, Kafka has a lot of room when it comes to building a team. It's really hard to fuck up, but hold on, let me think of something. There. The worst Kafka team I can think of. And even it isn't that bad. Let's circle back to that question I posed at the beginning of this video. Is Kafka the best Nihility character to be released so far? Well, the answer's pretty complicated, but if you're looking for pure ease of access and damage numbers as big as Kafka's, then I'd say yes. Now you can't go wrong with Silverwolf's utility since she'll always be relevant, but in a way, so will Kafka. When characters are released that have better dots, she'll only get stronger, and more importantly, more and more people are going to regret not pulling for her. A lot of future proofing definitely went into her design. Or it could just be absolutely fucking wrong, and like half a year from now, MiHoYo takes her out back and old yellers her ass. But that's unlikely. So, do I think you should pull? Absolutely. Kafka's a great 5-star, and the 4-stars in the banner only make pulling for her that much sweeter. You pretty much have everything you need for a solid team in that banner. Minus the healer, but like, did you not get Natasha for free? Everyone has Una. I think the only real question to ask is, do you have a choice? Or are you destined to pull for Kafka? Yes, I did do the companion mission while writing this script. Food for thought. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate the classic like and subscribe. What I would really love to see is your feedback in the comments below. As always, I will reply to that shit.